There comes a quiet moment in every life when the noise of the world begins to lose its power. It does not happen because the world becomes kinder or because people suddenly understand your worth. It happens because something inside you changes. You wake up one morning and realize that you have spent too many days measuring yourself against expectations that were never yours to carry. You have searched for approval in places where love was conditional, where acceptance came with rules, where happiness depended on someone else's opinion of who you should be. And yet, after all that searching, your heart still whispers that something is missing. The greatest secret about happiness has never been hidden behind wealth, popularity, or perfect circumstances. It has been waiting patiently within you, beneath every fear, beneath every disappointment, beneath every moment you doubted your own value. We are taught to look outward for fulfillment, to chase applause, to compete with strangers, to become everything except ourselves. But the soul grows weary when it spends its life performing for an audience that is never satisfied. The soul longs for home, and home is not a destination on a map. Home is the place where you finally choose yourself. Imagine what your life could become if your energy was no longer spent proving your worth to people who had already decided not to see it. Imagine waking each day with the freedom to nourish your own dreams instead of carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations. The moment you begin to focus on yourself, not from selfishness, but from wisdom, you reclaim something precious that the world quietly steals from so many, your peace. And once peace finds a place to live within you, happiness no longer feels like a distant reward. It becomes the steady rhythm of your own heartbeat, reminding you that the most extraordinary life is built not by chasing others, but by finally discovering the person you were always meant to become. Happiness begins the moment you stop asking the world to tell you who you are. Many people spend years waiting for someone else to notice their efforts, praise their talents, or confirm that they are enough. They believe that a compliment will erase their doubts, or that recognition will finally bring them peace. Yet approval from others is a fragile foundation because it changes with opinions, circumstances, and expectations. One day you may be celebrated, and the next day you may be overlooked. If your joy depends on those changing tides, your heart will never find steady ground. True happiness cannot survive where your value is determined by voices outside yourself. It begins when you realize that your worth has never been a vote that others are allowed to cast. From childhood, many of us are taught to seek rewards for doing the right thing. We are praised for good grades, admired for achievements, and encouraged to earn acceptance through success. While encouragement can inspire growth, it can also create a quiet habit of believing that love and respect must always be earned. As adults, this habit often follows us into friendships, careers, and relationships. We work harder than necessary, say yes when we mean no, and hide parts of ourselves because we fear rejection. Slowly, we lose sight of who we are beneath the roles we perform. The more we chase approval, the further we drift from the person waiting patiently inside us. There is a remarkable freedom that arrives when you no longer need every person to understand your journey. Not everyone will appreciate your dreams, and not everyone will celebrate your growth. Some people are only comfortable with the version of you that asks for permission to exist. When you begin making decisions based on your own values instead of other people's expectations, resistance may appear. That resistance is not proof that you are wrong. Often, it is evidence that you are becoming independent enough to write your own story. The opinions of others become quieter when your own voice grows stronger. Self-validation is not arrogance. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your principles, honoring your efforts, and recognizing your progress without waiting for applause. It means celebrating small victories, even when no one notices them. It means forgiving yourself for mistakes instead of allowing criticism to define your identity. It means understanding that growth is often invisible before it becomes obvious. A tree does not ask the forest for permission before extending its roots deeper into the earth. It simply grows because growth is its nature. Human beings are no different. Your purpose is not to impress everyone around you, but to become more fully yourself with each passing day. Comparison often walks hand in hand with the search for validation. Social media, public success, and carefully crafted appearances can convince you that everyone else has discovered a perfect life while you are somehow falling behind. But every person's journey contains struggles that cannot be seen from the outside. Measuring your life against another person's highlights only creates unnecessary pain. Your path was never designed to look like anyone else's. The moment you stop comparing and start appreciating your own progress, you begin replacing insecurity with gratitude. Gratitude shifts your attention from what is missing to what is already growing within you. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, you strengthen your relationship with yourself. Every honest decision, every healthy boundary, and every act of self-respect reminds your heart that it no longer has to beg for permission to matter. You discover that peace is not something another person can hand to you, nor is confidence a prize awarded after perfection. They are built quietly through daily choices that honor your values, protect your energy, and reflect your true character. As you continue walking this path, the need for constant validation slowly fades, replaced by a calm certainty that your worth has always existed. Independent of applause, recognition, or acceptance from anyone else, the relationship you have with yourself is the foundation upon which every other part of your life is built. Before you can truly love others, trust others, or create meaningful connections, you must first understand how you speak to yourself, how you treat yourself, and how deeply you believe in your own worth. Many people spend years trying to repair broken relationships without realizing that the most important relationship has been neglected all along. If your inner world is filled with doubt, criticism, and fear, those feelings will eventually shape the way you experience the world around you. But when your relationship with yourself is rooted in compassion, honesty, and respect, every area of your life begins to reflect that quiet strength. Think about the voice that follows you everywhere. It is there when you wake up in the morning, when you make mistakes, when you celebrate victories, and when you face disappointment. For some people, that voice is harsh, constantly reminding them of what they failed to do or how far they have left to go. They become their own toughest critic, speaking words to themselves that they would never dare say to someone they love. Over time, this constant self-judgment creates emotional exhaustion. Confidence fades, joy becomes difficult to hold on to, and every challenge feels heavier than it truly is. Changing your life often begins by changing the conversation you have with yourself. A healthy relationship with yourself does not mean believing you are perfect. It means accepting that you are a work in progress while still recognizing your value in every stage of growth. Every person carries imperfections, regrets, and lessons learned through hardship. Those experiences are not signs that you are broken. They are reminders that you are human. When you stop demanding perfection from yourself, you create room for patience. You begin celebrating effort instead of obsessing over flawless results. This shift allows you to grow without carrying the unbearable weight of impossible expectations. Self-respect is another essential part of this relationship. It is reflected in the boundaries you set, the standards you maintain, and the choices you make each day. When you respect yourself, you no longer accept treatment that diminishes your dignity. You understand that saying no to what harms your peace is just as important as saying yes to opportunities that help you grow. Boundaries are not walls built to keep love away. They are doors that allow healthy relationships to enter while protecting your emotional well-being from unnecessary harm. Every time you honor your values instead of sacrificing them for acceptance, your trust in yourself grows stronger. Your relationship with yourself also shapes the way you respond to failure. If you believe your mistakes define your identity, every setback becomes a reason to give up. But if you see failure as a teacher rather than a judge, every challenge becomes an opportunity to become wiser and stronger. The people who find lasting happiness are not those who avoid failure. They are the ones who refuse to let failure decide their worth. They learn, adjust, and continue moving forward with humility and courage. When you care for yourself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, you create an inner environment where peace can flourish. You become less dependent on outside approval because your confidence is no longer borrowed from other people. You discover that joy is not found by becoming someone else, but by fully embracing the person you already are. The more kindness you offer yourself, the more kindness you naturally extend to others. The more forgiveness you give yourself, the more understanding you develop for those around you. Every act of self-care, every honest reflection, and every decision that aligns with your deepest values strengthens the bond between you and the person you see in the mirror, creating a life guided by authenticity instead of fear, confidence instead of doubt, and love instead of endless self-criticism. Inner peace is not something that suddenly appears when life becomes perfect. It is not the reward for having endless success, unlimited wealth, or a future without uncertainty. Instead, it is a quiet state of mind that grows through self-awareness and self-respect. These two qualities work together, shaping the way you understand yourself and the way you choose to live. When you become aware of your thoughts, emotions, strengths, and weaknesses without judgment, you stop fighting against your own nature. When you respect yourself enough to live according to your values. You stop allowing outside opinions to control your happiness. This is where lasting peace begins to take root. Self-awareness starts with the willingness to be honest with yourself. It asks you to pause long enough to notice what truly brings you joy, what repeatedly drains your energy, and what fears quietly influence your decisions. Many people spend years moving from one responsibility to another without ever asking themselves why they feel empty. They become experts at meeting other people's expectations while remaining strangers to their own hearts. The constant busyness of life can distract us from the simple but important questions. What do you truly value? What kind of life do you want to create? What habits are helping you grow? And which ones are keeping you trapped? The answers to these questions cannot be found in someone else's opinion. They are discovered through honest reflection and the courage to face yourself with openness instead of fear. As your self-awareness grows, you begin recognizing patterns that once controlled your life without your knowledge. You notice how certain situations trigger unnecessary worry, how certain people leave you emotionally exhausted, or how old beliefs continue to limit your confidence. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin responding with intention. You understand that emotions are valuable messengers, but they should not become permanent rulers of your decisions. This awareness gives you the freedom to choose wisdom over impulse and peace over unnecessary conflict. Self-respect naturally follows self-awareness. Once you understand your worth, you begin making choices that reflect it. You stop apologizing for having healthy boundaries. You stop feeling guilty for protecting your time and energy. You recognize that every moment you spend trying to please everyone else is a moment taken away from becoming the person you are meant to be. Self-respect means treating yourself with the same kindness, patience, and fairness that you so willingly offer others. It means refusing to remain in environments that constantly diminish your spirit or encourage you to abandon your values for temporary acceptance. One of the greatest obstacles to inner peace is living a life that contradicts your deepest beliefs. When your actions are driven by fear instead of conviction, your heart constantly feels unsettled. But when your choices reflect your authentic values, even difficult decisions bring a sense of calm. There is remarkable strength in knowing that your life is guided by principles rather than pressure. You no longer need to chase every opportunity or seek approval from every person because your direction comes from within. Inner peace also grows when you learn to forgive yourself. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone experiences moments of weakness, regret, and disappointment. Holding on to guilt forever does not erase the past. It only steals the joy of the present. Self-awareness allows you to acknowledge your mistakes honestly, while self-respect reminds you that your failures are lessons, not permanent labels. You become wiser because of what you have endured, not despite it. As these qualities continue to grow, your life begins to change in quiet but powerful ways. You become less reactive to criticism, less anxious about comparison, and less dependent on circumstances beyond your control. Your confidence becomes steady because it is built on truth instead of appearances. Your decisions become clearer because they are guided by purpose instead of fear. Your heart becomes lighter because it is no longer carrying the impossible burden of trying to satisfy everyone around you. Allowing peace to become the silent companion that walks beside you through every season of life. One of the greatest barriers to genuine happiness is the constant habit of comparing yourself to others. Comparison often begins quietly, almost unnoticed. You see someone achieving success, receiving admiration, or living a life that appears exciting, and before long, you begin measuring your own worth against what you see. Instead of appreciating your own journey, you start questioning whether you are doing enough, earning enough, or becoming enough. This habit slowly steals your confidence because it convinces you that your value depends on how closely your life resembles someone else's. Yet true joy is never found by living another person's story. It is discovered when you let go of comparison and give yourself permission to embrace your own path. The modern world makes comparison easier than ever. Every day, people share carefully selected moments of happiness, achievement, travel, celebration, and success. Rarely do they reveal the sleepless nights, private struggles, disappointments, or fears that exist behind those polished images. When you compare your everyday reality to someone else's highlight reel, you create an unfair standard that no one can truly meet. You begin believing that everyone else has life figured out while you alone are falling behind. This illusion creates unnecessary anxiety and prevents you from recognizing the beauty and progress already present in your own life. Every individual has a unique timeline. Some people discover their purpose early, while others find it much later. Some achieve financial success at a young age, while others build meaningful lives through patience and perseverance over many years. There is no universal schedule for fulfillment, and there is no prize for reaching certain milestones before everyone else. Life is not a race where only one person succeeds. It is a deeply personal journey filled with different lessons, opportunities, and seasons. Comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20 only creates frustration because you are measuring different parts of completely different stories. Letting go of comparison does not mean ignoring the success of others. Instead, it means learning to celebrate it without allowing it to diminish your own sense of worth. Another person's accomplishments do not reduce your potential. Their victories are not evidence that there is less opportunity available for you. The world is large enough for many people to succeed in different ways. When you replace jealousy with inspiration, you transform comparison into motivation. Rather than asking why someone else has more, you begin asking what you can learn from their dedication, discipline, or resilience. Gratitude plays a powerful role in breaking the cycle of comparison. When your attention is constantly focused on what others possess, it becomes difficult to appreciate what already exists in your own life. But the moment you intentionally notice your strengths, your relationships, your health, your knowledge, and your personal growth, your perspective begins to shift. Gratitude does not ignore your goals or dreams. It simply reminds you that your life already contains blessings worthy of recognition. Happiness grows where appreciation is practiced consistently. As you become more focused on your own journey, your confidence starts to deepen. You no longer feel pressured to compete with everyone around you because you understand that your greatest competition is the person you were yesterday. Progress becomes more meaningful than perfection. Small improvements become reasons for celebration rather than reminders of how far you still have to go. Each step forward strengthens your belief that lasting fulfillment comes from becoming the best version of yourself, not a copy of someone else. The freedom that comes from releasing comparison is profound. Your decisions become guided by your values instead of public opinion. Your dreams become shaped by your passions instead of social expectations. Your peace becomes less vulnerable to other people's achievements because your happiness is rooted in authenticity rather than competition. In that freedom, joy begins to flourish naturally, allowing you to appreciate your own life with a heart that is no longer distracted by endless comparisons and a spirit that finds contentment in growing at its own meaningful pace. The most valuable investment you will ever make is not in money, possessions, or status, but in your own personal growth. Everything you build in life begins with the person you become. Your knowledge shapes your decisions. Your character influences your relationships, and your mindset determines how you respond to both success and failure. When you choose to invest in yourself, you are choosing a future that is stronger, wiser, and more fulfilling than the one you would create by simply following the expectations of others. This is one of the greatest acts of self-love because it declares that your dreams, your well-being, and your potential are worthy of your time, energy, and commitment. Many people spend years waiting for the perfect opportunity to change their lives. They believe they will begin learning after they have more time, become healthier after life becomes less busy, or pursue their passions once everything feels certain. But growth rarely begins with perfect conditions. It begins with small, intentional choices made consistently over time. Reading one chapter of a meaningful book, learning a new skill, developing healthier habits, practicing gratitude, or setting aside a few moments each day for reflection may seem insignificant at first. Yet these simple actions quietly shape the person you become. Every positive habit is like planting a seed. At first, the changes are invisible, but with patience and consistency, they grow into lasting transformations. Investing in yourself also means protecting your mental and emotional well-being. A healthy mind is just as important as a healthy body. Taking time to rest, reflect, and recover is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom. You cannot continue giving your best to the world if your own spirit is exhausted. Learning to recognize when you need peace instead of pressure, silence instead of noise, or healing instead of constant productivity allows you to build a life that is sustainable rather than overwhelming. Self-love is not about avoiding responsibility. It is about understanding that you deserve the same care and compassion that you so often offer to others. Growth requires courage because it asks you to leave behind familiar patterns that no longer serve you. Sometimes this means letting go of limiting beliefs that have followed you for years. Sometimes it means ending unhealthy relationships, changing careers, admitting mistakes, or stepping into opportunities that feel uncertain. Every meaningful transformation begins with discomfort because growth always asks something of us. It asks us to trust ourselves enough to move beyond fear and to believe that who we are becoming is greater than who we have been. Every challenge faced with determination becomes another step toward a stronger and more confident version of yourself. Another important part of personal growth is accepting that learning never truly ends. No matter how much experience you gain, there will always be new lessons waiting to teach you humility, patience, and resilience. People who continue growing remain curious about life. They ask questions, seek wisdom, listen carefully, and remain open to change. Instead of fearing failure, they see it as valuable feedback. Instead of believing they know everything, they understand that every new experience has something meaningful to offer. This mindset keeps the heart young and the mind alive with possibility. When you consistently invest in your own development, the benefits extend far beyond your personal success. You become more capable of helping others because you are leading from a place of strength rather than emptiness. Your confidence inspires those around you. Your discipline encourages others to believe in their own potential. Your peace creates a safe place for others to find comfort. The love you show yourself through continuous growth naturally overflows into every relationship and every opportunity you encounter. Over time, you begin to understand that the greatest gift you can offer the world is not perfection, but the continual commitment to becoming the fullest, wisest, kindest, and most authentic version of yourself with every passing day, embracing each new lesson as another opportunity to honor your own remarkable potential